In the previous two videos, we learned about the first query method, which is getByRole. In this video, let's take a look at the second query method, which is getByLabelText. getByLabelText will search for the label that matches the given text, then find the element associated with that label. Let's understand its usage with an example. Previously, we've used getByRole to find the name input element. And that should always be your preference. However, for the purpose of understanding a new query method, let's now use getByLabelText to find the same input element. Const name element 2 is equal to screen.getByLabelText, and we pass in name. Here, name is the label that corresponds to the input element. getByLabelText will find the label element and then find the input associated with the label. ID and HTML4 attributes will help with that. Once we find the input element, let's expect it to be in the document. Save the file, and the test passes. This is how getByLabelText works. To reiterate, there is no need to test for an element using two different query methods. I am just adding them all here for your reference. getByRole, getByLabelText. Now what you should know is that getByLabelText also works with wrapper labels. If you take a look at our terms and conditions checkbox, the text I agree to the terms and conditions is present next to the input element but wrapped inside a label. There is no HTML4 attribute linking the two elements. Even in this case, getByLabelText works as expected. Let's verify. Const terms element 2 is equal to screen.getByLabelText, and the label is I agree to the terms and conditions. In the next line, expect terms element 2 to be in the document. Save the file, and we see our test continues to pass. Again, I'm sort of showing the happy path, but please do make sure that you are able to make the tests fail as well. False positives are a very common occurrence when testing. Finally, let me show you one of the options we can use with getByLabelText. Let's say we have a component where two components have the same label, for whatever might be the reason. To help understand, let me change the select drop-down label to name. If we now save the file, we get an error. This is because multiple elements with the text of name have been found. To fix this, with getByLabelText, we pass in a selector option which accepts the HTML element type as value. In our case, we don't want the select dropdown, but we want the first input element. If we now save the file, our test passes. getByLabelText is now returning an input element with name as label. There is only one of that in our component. So that is pretty much about the getByLabelText query method. It will search for the label that matches the given text, then find the element associated with that label. It optionally accepts a selector option to narrow down the HTML element if multiple elements are found with the same label, which in my experience is very unlikely. Alright, in the next video, let's take a look at our next query method.